Guan Yu, a famous military general of the Shu Han regime during the Three Kingdoms period, was one of the most well-known historical figures in China. At the age of 60, he was ambushed and killed in a battle, and they buried his head in Luoyang. What was Guan Yu like in historical records? Why did he become a symbol of loyalty and integrity? And this is the story of Guan Yu and his tomb. In the southern suburbs of Luoyang City, Henan Province, China, lies an ancient tomb that, according to legend, contains the head of Guan Yu, who was born around 160 AD. At that time, China was in the late Han Dynasty period, and the social order had begun to disintegrate. In 184 AD, a large-scale uprising broke out in China. The central government was unable to cope with it and therefore allowed local authorities to organize their own armed forces to fight back against the rebels. At this time, Guan Yu joined a small armed force led by Liu Bei and soon became his right-hand man. Years later, government forces and local armed groups eliminated the rebels. But these groups became a new problem. They were no longer willing to obey the central government's orders and became the de facto rulers of their own regions, beginning to wage war against each other. From then on, China plunged into nearly a century of chaos. The army led by Liu Bei and Guan Yu was one of those powers. However, their army was very weak and was often driven away or even annexed by other forces. For a long time, they did not have their own territory. Cao Cao even captured Guan Yu once, believing him to be an excellent general and hoping he would serve him. But Guan Yu refused and returned to Liu Bei's side. More than 20 years later, Liu Bei's group finally gradually acquired its own territory. That is the light green part on this map. At this time, three regimes coexisted in China: Shu Han, Cao Wei, and Sun Wu. Therefore, this period is historically known as the Three Kingdoms period. Guan Yu was an important general of Shu Han, guarding the strategically important Jingzhou region. In 219 AD, Guan Yu led his troops north to attack Cao Cao, but Sun Quan cut off his retreat. Guan Yu was ambushed and captured, but he refused to surrender. Sun Quan decided to execute Guan Yu and then cut off his head and sent it to Cao Cao, making it appear as if he was acting on Cao Cao's orders. Guan Yu thus ended his life at the age of around 60. Cao Cao admired him and therefore gave Guan Yu a high-ranking burial in Luoyang, and this tomb is said to be the burial site of his head. As for his body, Sun Quan buried it in Dangyang, the place where he defeated Guan Yu. In the context of Chinese history, there's nothing too special about Guan Yu. Historical records describe him as an outstanding military general, but also as stubborn and arrogant, which is hardly a compliment. However, the Three Kingdoms period was so fascinating that in the centuries that followed, stories about it began to circulate among the Chinese people, many of which contained fictional and vivid details. In the early Ming Dynasty, Around the end of the 14th century, the novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which combined historical facts and legends, was published, and Guan Yu was one of the key characters portrayed in it. When we talk about Guan Yu today, people often think of his image in this novel. In this book, Guan Yu, with a red face and a long beard, wields a polearm similar to a glaive on the battlefield and rides a steed named Red Tiger. He swore brotherhood with Liu Bei and Zhang Fei in the Peach Garden, vowing never to betray each other. He fought bravely on the battlefield, easily killing enemy generals. After being captured by Cao Cao, he refused to surrender despite temptations, and after learning of Liu Bei's whereabouts, he overcame numerous difficulties to return to his brother's side. In that era before anesthesia, when the doctor performed surgery on his arm to treat the arrow wound, he played chess with his staff as if nothing was happening. In response to the territorial dispute, he bravely went along to negotiate with the enemy. His courage intimidated the enemy, who dared not harm him and allowed him to return safely. After being defeated and captured, his steed, the Red Tiger, refused to eat and starved to death. The book contains many more details like this that highlight his loyalty and courage, making him a highly admirable figure. As early as the Tang Dynasty, about 400 years after Guan Yu's death, people began to commemorate him in temples to seek blessings. Partly because the virtue of loyalty aligned closely with the mainstream ideology of ancient China, the authorities continuously elevated Guan Yu's social status despite regime changes. In recent centuries, they even granted him the title of emperor, and people regard him as a martial saint. In Hong Kong gangster movies, it's common to see people swearing oath of never betraying each other in front of a statue of Guan Yu. They often refer to him as Brother Guan. Almost every town in China has a temple commemorating Guan Yu, and this site, which is said to be the burial place of Guan Yu's head, attracts a constant stream of worshippers. Guan Yu is a household name in China. This military general, who lived over 1800 years ago, has become a symbol of Chinese culture, representing loyalty, bravery, and integrity.